Terrance Chisholm, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. Congratulations on the show.
Thank
Uh,
you.
completely unexpected. Completely unexpected. Was so taken aback by everything to do with Demascus. It was so interesting. Just from root to toot. Can you talk about what made you want to tell this as a multiverse kind of story?
Sure. Okay, so I'll just kind of tell you how the it started. I was at Juilliard at the time. I'm a playwright, trained playwright, I guess, and whatever that means. And and so like the way the Juilliard program is sort of set up is that each playwright brings in a brand new play each week. And so my week was coming up. I didn't have a play. And so I kind of wrote down this argument discussion I was having with my fiance at the time. And so I made us characters. She was Naomi, I was Demascus, and then I wrote some of our friends into it. And I wrote this short little story about this guy dealing with depression after the election. And it was well received. It even had like a little production in St. Louis at one point, but it was just like this one act play, this one off, and it felt complete. But I wasn't done with the characters because I really liked them. They were me and my wife, and so I'm like, I got to do something else with these. And so I
Mhm.
kind of that's where I kind of devised the idea of putting them into these different worlds. That was also inspired by that. At the time, I was a working playwright, so I had plays in production, and I was in LA, and then I was in, Texas, and I was in Washington and New York and London, and so I felt like all this traveling and moving I was doing that I was like myself hopping realities. Like I could be talking to a millionaire one day and then a homeless person the next day, and I'm connecting and having a relationship with both of them. And so I wanted to sort of write a narrative where code switching didn't feel like oppression, rather like a superpower. And so that's kind of where the world came from. And I devised sort of like the science behind it to be able to put these characters in different worlds and see how they sort of played out and acted against each other.
I'm so glad you said the word code switching because I was like, that is exactly the entire vibe. To be frank, my wife was watching the first episode with me and she's like, "What have you gotten us into? What have you done? What have you gotten us into?" And then as it goes on, there's so many other facets of blackness that get
Mhm.
sort of interrogated, whatever. It's like we're watching a completely different show by the time we get to episode 5 or episode 4, especially episode 6, the finale, which I'm just like,
Uh-huh.
what is going on? So, what about the black experience did you feel like you could capture through these different lenses through like, that kind of idea? Because there's a lot of different black masculinity means a lot of different things for a lot of different
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, that's what I was going for, this idea that like black masculinity is multifaceted and the majority of the versions I've seen I've never actually seen on TV. And so like the people that I know these people and I don't see them on television. And so that was sort of the thing I wanted to do, was to sort of bring as many different types and nuanced versions of black men that I could into this space. And so like, yeah, and that's where like the genre hobby is like, I wanted to say that like, black people exist in these worlds, and in these different versions of the worlds, they can be different people and sort of have different things, but there's always like the through line of blackness. Like there's a base level experience, but then it can like diverge and manipulate and bend and stretch in all sorts of directions based on like small decisions sometimes. And so, yeah.
Absolutely, because it's not like every single, I'll say, variant of Damascus is 100% 180 from the last one. They all
Right.
carry a certain little seed of the first variant that we meet.
Hmm.
And I love O's like performance of even though he's in his like with home reality for a lot of it, he still seems really confused and really
Hmm.
adrift in like really funny, peculiar ways where he's almost less adrift in a world where, he's married to his crush or, it's not the future or whatever. Like it
Uh-huh.
was very fascinating. Can you talk about like selecting him specifically to play your lead character because I was like really blown away. I was like, oh, this is really, really good.
Yeah, I wanted to like that is again is about like representing a different type of leading man.
Mhm.
I wanted to kind of someone who sort of presented like myself. Like Oak is like my more handsome doppelganger, but he sort of like presents in a way that, like I think there's like a different lived experience of a big black man. Like people view you in a different way and they see you and when you're coming towards them in a different way. And so I kind of wanted to have a character who walked through the world in the way that I did. I feel like people make a lot of assumptions about like my strength and my pride and my happiness or whatever it is, just like based off of like my stature. And so I wanted to um, sort of mirror that in the character. And so Oak sort of fit that. But he was also just like the best actor for the job for me. He was just like he resonated with the world and he's just like an actor's actor. He's a writer's actor. So he's very like open to collaboration and figuring things out and understanding the character truly. And so yeah, it was kind of like nice mind meld when we finally really did get started working.
It's so cool. I'll also just talking about selecting the best actor for like the purpose. Like freaking Martin Lawrence is so devastatingly funny, but also
Mm-hmm.
quietly profound in this
Mm-hmm.
in the show. And Janet Hubert, oh my God, like the episode where is outstanding. I'm like, wow, I've met this woman. I've sat
Yeah,
across the table from this intimidating woman before. I don't know what to do.
yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about how having like this sort of like iconic black actors kind of step in and like mirror their own parts of like a universal, like a more universal black experience?
yeah. I think well, like Janet, she was the ideal. I wrote the part with Janet in mind. Like she was
Oh,
always Dr. Bonneville in my mind. And so that was just like, let's ask her. And she was like, yes. And so I was like, great. Martin, I never thought I was worthy of thinking about him. So like he was never like the person in my mind. But when we got to casting, his name was brought up and I was like, if he'll do it, like why would he do this? And so like, but we got the script to his team and his team read it and they loved it. And so they got it to him and he was really excited about it. And I just think he saw like, I think he just really wanted to hook us up, to be honest. I was like, he's going to help these young guys out, this young man. I'm going to help him out. And so like he, he took the part. And so, yeah, I was so grateful for that because like Martin was sort of like, he's like the archetype for my comedy. Like the funniest, like when I remember thinking about like what is funny, You So Crazy is like top in my mind. Like I quote You So Crazy on a daily basis. And so like to have him in the part was just like surreal and crazy and you know, pinch me. So yeah, that was really,
right.
really, really quite cool. And then to be able to facilitate that sort of reunion between he and Lynn was so cool too.
Oh yeah. I mean, like that. I think one of those episodes near the end was like when we both were like, "Wow, holy crap!" I'm like, "Please, please, who Tubi, give us a season two so we can stay with this concept." I'm ready to write out 3 seasons of this. Um, Speaking of, I got Wild Moon Knight season four. What just happened? Vibes from the end of like episode 5 into
Uh-huh.
6 because I'm like, oh, we're just doing something different. Like what? Like, are you serious? Like, and it's like a bold choice to have that at the end of the season too because way TV works now, we just never know. I wanna. How did your writers' room? How did you guys step out into like the decision to make such a bold choice near the end of the series?
Yeah, the interesting thing is I wrote the last episode after the room concluded, which was really
Really?
interesting. The room kind of like I was like, I got this, show. I don't know what it's gonna be, but I got it. And they were, they supported me and we talked through what the ending might be and what like the resolutions might feel like and how but I had the plane thing in my head. I didn't know what that was gonna do, but I just had that plane thing. And so I wrote that afterwards. So um yeah, but it was very, I just like, I was thinking about like, like I don't take, my career has been that like I don't believe anything until I see it. And so like there were talks about it going forward, but I was just like, if that doesn't happen, I want to tell a complete story that feels complete, but also leaves it open to more. And so I tried to tread the line with that episode, just like giving you like I think he comes to a place of like resolve and um acceptance, but he may or may not have to if we go forward, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, if this is the end, it is a good stepping off point into whatever's next. But if not, there is
Mm-hmm.
room for the story to continue to evolve and grow.
Yeah.
And I would also say, like, in the sort of evolving and growing thing, what do you think it is about comedy that we like so much? Like, what is, like, all of the realities have some element of comedy in them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so core to like Black expression to like
Yeah.
have even in the bleakest circumstances, there is something at least slightly to smile about, no matter how small that smile might be.
Yeah. I
What
think,
do you
I mean, for me, it's sort of like it's interesting because I don't consider myself a comedic writer. Like I just write, and I know that feels strange, but I don't write to be funny. I think when if I sat down, I'm like, let's write something funny. It's going to be terrible. I
think?
try to like write the truth of people. I try to write people how I hear people talking. Like I hear comedy in the way people talk, but just sort of like the way I approach life is like everything is funny until it's not. And so, to like it's sort of like inherently like I try to capture the true comedy of scenarios. I'm not trying to like write jokes. And so I think when I write jokes, those are not good. But yeah, I think that like there's just sort of a spirit of comedy throughout all of it. It's like what else can you do? You have to laugh at these things or, you know, go crazy or something. So yeah, there's just sort of like that is a way. I also think that like it's like the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down, And so like you're laughing, but you're like, oh shit, that might be something to think about, or that comes off as a joke, but there is some truth in that. And so I kind of try to skirt that line too.
It's like you gotta laugh to keep from crying, like on overdrive every day with
Hmm.
stuff that happens. And I would like to shout out to, I think is it episode 5 where they do like the reality show parody, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
because like wife loves all that stuff, but I'm like, there is like a bleak, surreal undertone, and then to have it like veer into horror is so funny, and also like the way Shakira like approaches the material, especially near the end of like boop being pulled out, was tremendous as well.
Hmm.
For a last question, like, is there a link between, on the other side of the coin, between what we do with storytelling and horror too? Because I mean, Jordan Peele,
Uh-huh.
we love a genre horror piece too.
Yeah. I think the appeal of that is just like, yeah, there is sort of a not scapegoat. What is it? Like you get to live vicariously through the horror, So like you can have the feelings but not really be any kind of sort of danger. And that too is sort of healing and um yeah. So I think what it is just that there's like a a desire to see more people in different spaces, like the way a Black person is going to approach a threat is completely different than someone else. And so like that deserves a movie of its own, like it's just like our reactions are different and the reality of that can be explored and, you know, challenged and looked at and be entertained by because there are like differences.
Absolutely, absolutely. Terrence, the show is wonderful. I hope we
Thank you.
get more because
Sweet.
literally we're sitting there in the living room like, what the heck? Like what? That doesn't seem fair. Multiple realities, and we live in the one where there's not more Demascus to watch on Tubi. A shame.
I love that
Thank you.
quote. I'm gonna quote that.